It was such a tremendous performance.
Hello and welcome to a special Nation Sports Desk update. And it's a special update because we have special news for you. But before we do that, my name is Nicholas Maitland and alongside me is Anmar Goodridge-Boyce. And Anmar, we're here to discuss the fact that the men's national football team, they are without a head coach because coach Russell Latapy has stepped down from his role effective immediately. There's been a whole lot of backlash surrounding the national team after their last CONCACAF Nations League campaign, and we saw this coming. I think we did, but we didn't expect it today. So Anmar, a lot of news, a lot of things going around. What is going on? Tell me about Latapy's tenure and why has it ended?
Yeah, I think it's a situation where, like you mentioned before, we saw it coming. Obviously, the Barbados senior men's national football team not getting the results that they wanted, not getting the results that coach Latapy wanted as well. And it is a situation where he's now decided that now is the time, to step away from the team. Following the last CONCACAF Nations League campaign, obviously the Tridents lost 1-0 to Antigua, 3-0 to Cuba, and then 2-1 and 1-0 to Guadeloupe. So obviously it is a situation too where the team went 15 months without a win. Obviously the last win for the Barbados senior men's national team was a 1-0 win versus Anguilla. And that, of course, was in the FIFA World Cup qualifying campaign last year. So it is a situation where the team also has gone, I think, 6 matches without scoring a goal. Obviously, Keon Atkins scoring that header goal, a consolation goal versus Guadeloupe. But it is a situation where the Tridents have been lacking in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net and lacking in terms of getting the results. Being around the team, I can tell that the players wanted to play for him. They wanted to get the results, not only for the head coach, but for the country and to do well. But it is a situation where it just has not happened. And, we're here today discussing Russell Latapy's resignation.
Well, in terms of discussion, let's break it down before, during, and after. Now, before you guys left, I think that was the end of May, close to the end of May. There was a lot of pressure on the team, a lot of pressure on Coach Latapy to get results and not be relegated back to League C. Tell me about that pressure before and how the team felt going into these 4 games.
It was always going to be a critical campaign for the men's team. Obviously, being promoted from League C to League B, you come up the ladder in terms of teams. You have to face better opponents. So Barbados would have played USVI and some other teams in the League C. But it is a situation now coming up now. I'm playing Cuba. Obviously, one of the best teams in the Caribbean in terms of football. They have a lot of professional players playing against Antigua and Barbuda. Not a team that would have defeated Barbados before the 1-0 win last month. But it is a situation that they also had their professional players. And then Guadeloupe, we know Guadeloupe is a team that has a lot of French rejects. It is a situation where, they tend to have a lot of players who are not good enough to make the France national team, were still good enough to make Guadeloupe's team. So it is a case where the going was always going to be tough for Russell Latapy's men. And it is a situation where he was not able to have at his disposal a number of his professional players, talking about people like Hallam Hope, people like Ryan Trotman, Thierry Gill, Nick Blackman as well as one of the biggest names in terms of our local football. So it is a situation where, unfortunate for the head coach not being able to have those players, he also had to, look at a number of under 20 players, under 18 players. So it was a very youthful squad, as I mentioned before. The team traveled. It is a situation where he was asking babies, new kids on the block, to do the job of a man.
It was real unfortunate too because of COVID-19. I spoke to him and I told him, Coach, it was really unfortunate that you were appointed just a year, maybe less than a year before COVID-19, and COVID really came and offset everything. But he was still continuing his work with the team, and obviously we saw it was a great relationship that was fostered between himself and his boys. And I think a lot of persons also noticed an improved style of play from the youngsters, even in these 4 games. So you saw that as well?
I remember his first game, Nick. Can remember it very well. And he is the little magician, and he had a bit of a fairy tale beginning, if I could say that. I think Barbados won 4-0 in that game in terms of it was played at the turf. I think it was USVI that we played, or Cayman Islands. Can't remember which team it was exactly, but winning 4-0 after the perfect start, and then obviously getting the promotion in League B. He got a couple of losses as well, but it was a situation where the general feeling around local football on the island was a happy one. Obviously, Barbados gaining the promotion, obviously from that tournament and into the net zone. So it was a case where I saw a level of professionalism among the team. The players really respected him. He seemed that he commanded and demanded a lot from the players in terms of a work ethic, in terms of their style of play. It looked like he wanted to impose a more of a possession game with Barbados. I had a couple of conversations with him as well, and he always talked about having players who are able to have the ball at their disposal, play with it at their feet. So it was a situation where, and if you look at the type of players that he would have selected, the type of players that he named in his team, a number of players who are very comfortable with playing with the ball,
especially in the back as well.
People like Akeem Hill, very comfortable. Mario Bagger Williams, those players are very comfortable with playing the ball out. So it was a situation where he wanted to impose that attacking style football on Barbados, but it's a situation where he just didn't get the results.
Well, we've covered before. Let's talk about during now. And you guys returned to the island on June 13th, I believe. And from there was an avalanche of criticism. People, the first thing we do is call for somebody to be sacked or call for somebody to leave their job. All of that vitriol that you experienced or you would have seen, was it deserved for the national team?
I think it is a situation where, remember the 8-1 defeat at the preliminary round of the CONCACAF Gold Cup in Bermuda. You travel with the team. So it was a situation where I think that is on par with Barbados' worst result in international football. And we saw after that game, there was an avalanche of criticism coming after the head coach. We had a number of former players coming out and saying, hey, look, listen, Russell Latapy needs to go. He must be sacked after this performance. We saw a lot of that. After that, just one result. Because I think what happens is that people forgot that, we're talking about a man who just got promotion with the team, a one bad result, and we're asking for him to be sacked. I think it is a situation where players, we have to put things into context, Nick. Even this time around, we had a situation where COVID-19 affected the world. Not only us here in Barbados, but it was a situation where, due to protocols and due to restrictions, football was one of the last sports to really restart in the midst of the pandemic.
Still hasn't really restarted.
Exactly. We're still waiting for the domestic league. Obviously, the Republic Cup coming up, but we're still waiting for local football to kick off. So it is a situation where the players were not training. The players probably had, a lot of fitness concerns and stuff like that. So it is a situation where there was a lot of talk about, Barbados' football then and now. And I think it's a situation where everything needed to be put in context, and a bit harsh at times and a bit unfair by some of the former players.
I think so as well. And their main argument a lot of the time is about this thing we refer to as glory days. But I know you have a bit of an issue with that, because we think about glory days as times of great success. And I know that term is used very loosely as well, but was there great success? Is there really something to build on? Or as a national team, are we still at the bottom trying to come up?
People talk about the days of Tobacco Beckles. People talk about the days when Barbados football had the Norman Foes, the Llewellyn Rileys, Gregory Lalo Goodridge. These players are good players. Tobacco Beckles, a good coach. But I think it's a situation where, in terms of glory days, Barbados has never qualified for any major football tournament. Never made the CONCACAF Gold Cup, never made the FIFA World Cup. So I'm a bit worried and concerned that we use the term glory days when we talk about national football. I don't see the glory days, Nick.
Well, there's not much glory to report on, but there could be some glory to report on later on, because now the job of the BFA, the first job of the BFA, is probably to get a new head coach in there. I think the new head coach should be the current assistant coach, Mr. Kent Hall. He's paid his dues in local football for many years, and he's currently the head of coaching education at the BFA. And I was telling you earlier, Anmar, that he's really the head coach of the coaches at the BFA. So I think he should be given the opportunity now to be the head coach of the national team, especially until next March, where they have the last two CONCACAF Nations League games. But before we think about a replacement for Mr. Latapy, there was a story you did, excellent journalism as well, regarding the response from Captain Fatty Holligan, Hayden Holligan, if Coach Latapy was to be sacked instead of the current decision of walking away. Do you think that he should have gone that route instead of saying, well, it's on us, it's our fault, blame us, not the coach, but they basically threatened to walk away from the team? You agree with him?
I think it is a case where Fatty Holligan and a number of the senior players got a lot of criticism for the move. This is how I see it, Nick. Unprecedented. We watch football all over the world. We watch international football. We watch the Premier League. We watch La Liga. We watch football at all levels, as I mentioned before. And it is a situation where you never see players come out in such a bold manner and supporting and defending the coach. I think it shows unity, definitely, among the team. I think it is a situation where the players thought that they needed to come out and say something. Obviously, a lot of the pressure behind Russell Latapy as the head coach. And obviously, we know that at the end of the day, the ultimate decision, it laid with the Barbados Football Association. And we tend to know how the BFA works and know how they operate. It is a situation where they don't normally cave on the pressure.
No, they don't.
You know, we say what we like, you know, we write what we like in the paper. But it is a situation where, you know, they do not make their decisions based on off of us and based on for emotional decisions. So I think it is a case where very interesting move by Hayden Holligan, but I thought that he probably thought too that he needed to come out and say something. Like I mentioned, he had a lot of criticism, a lot of former players and a lot of fans of the sport saying, well, you know, they should run instead of walking. Your thoughts on that, Nick?
Well, I really thought it was a good gesture.
Yeah.
I know that their hearts were in the right place, but I think the humbler approach to that would have been come out and say, well, guys, we want to play for this coach. We believe in this coach. We believe in everything he's doing, but we haven't been able to get the results. And it's our fault. We take full blame for that and then move on from there. But I think in that situation, they put more pressure on Latapy and then more pressure on themselves.
So you think it's a situation where about transparency and accountability there in terms of the players coming out and saying, hey, look, listen, we have not delivered on the pitch?
A little more, we got the transparency, but a little more accountability from their part, because results have been bad enough that we cannot ignore them. So I think in that way they had to come out and say, yes, it's our fault, don't blame the coach, it's our fault, and take that pressure off of him. But, you know, they haven't, and, you know, the coach had to make a decision on his future based on personal things going on in his life, professional aspirations that he has as well, and, you know, the overall situation right now. And the overall situation is not untenable, but it will be definitely a hot seat for the next coach. I've already put forward my candidate. And who are your candidates to take over from Mr. Latapy?
Well, I would not say that I have a quote-unquote candidate.
I know you have a list, though. You have a list of people.
Yeah, I think some people that might be eyeing the job. Ronaldo Pee-wee Jilts, he's one. I think he could be a front runner. I think people like David Ward, Thomas Jordan, Asquith, Howell as well. Howell too would be a good contender in terms of the fact that, you know, he would have been the head coach of the BDF sports program. Obviously, we know that the Barbados senior national men's team has been made up of a number of BDF SP players. So it is a situation where, you know, that format and that system would not be nothing new to him. But I think it is a situation where whoever gets the job, as you mentioned, will be in that hot seat, and we'll know that, you know, the Barbadian public will be demanding results, and, you know, if they don't get it, it will be the same thing that happened to Latapy, coming a lot of criticism. In terms of a new coach, because I've noticed that this is something that Latapy did not have, and we see it all the time at the higher level. In terms of appointments, you know, we have a situation where coaches normally have their own backroom staff.
That is true.
We see at the Manchester United, we see at Chelsea, we see at Real Madrid, Barcelona. It is a situation where the new head coach normally comes in with his assistant, he normally comes in with his trainer, he normally comes in with his medic,
coach and all
goalkeeping coach, as you mentioned, a defensive coach and a midfield coach as well. So I think that it is a situation where the Barbados Football Association needs to look at these things in terms of the appointment to the next head coach. And I think I tend to agree with you with leaving Kent Hall as the interim coach, because he would have been around the players now for over a year. So it is a situation where he knows some of the players. And being a former national player, I think that, you know, his experience and his composure in terms of, you know, being able to lead the team forward, I think that would be a good move for the Barbados Football Association at this moment.
And Kent Hall is a good lad as well. And I think we should show this highlight, but we had a celebrity game at the Turf a few years ago.
Don't talk about it.
And Kent Hall played a magnificent pass to me, and I brought it down just like Berbatov. So Kent Hall, he's already showed for many years that he's capable on the pitch. He was acting as manager, I think, in Suriname in January, so he knows all these logistics and everything. He knows how to run this national team and how to be a part of a Barbadian national team. So maybe it's Kent Hall, maybe it could be somebody else, but we all know that this person is going to be under immense pressure, and we're hoping for better results next year for our senior national team. Any last words, Anmar?
I think I've said it all, Nick. I think it is a situation where we are hoping, and we do want the best for Barbados football. You know, we, like the fans, we want Barbados to come out there and play attacking football. We want Barbados to get the results. We want Barbados to get wins. I think it is our hope, definitely mine, you know, to see Barbados qualify for a major football tournament.
Yes.
That would really bless my heart, Nick. What about you?
It will be nice, and with the World Cup being in CONCACAF in 2026, CONCACAF has 6 spots, and already 3 have been filled, so maybe, hopefully, Barbados can fill one of those 3 spots at the 2026 World Cup. But we have to get our coach in there, have to get some players in there as well, and we have to get results. Anmar, Goodridge-Boyce, thank you so much for all your coverage throughout June and this whole coverage with Mr. Latapy leaving. Great work. And on behalf of all of us, my name is Nicholas Maitland, and life goes on. The little magician has left, and hopefully it's not too long of a lull before our next leader. See you later.